In traditional role-playing games, players usually have the option of building a character by distributing status points into different attributes. These attributes are what decide how said character will function and what their purpose will be. Monster Hunter forgoes this concept, and rather than skills and stats being part of the character, they instead come from the equipment. So when I had a recent stream viewer ask me if the game had a rogue type class, my first thought was, wow, wouldn't it be cool if the Chameleon Elder Dragon's gear made you invisible and the game had actual stealth mechanics? That'd be so dope! But then my second thought was, what weapon is best suited for a high mobility, high damage playstyle? And the answer to that question is the subject of today's video. What we have here is the dual blades. Howdy y'all, welcome to the Agony of Gaming. My name is Kanan96. Today's episode is on a weapon that is a match made in heaven for anybody that just spams buttons while playing Super Smash Bros. And we will get to that soon enough, but first tell me down in the comments below what you think of Monster Hunter had a proper stealth mechanic. World kind of did it with the Ghillie Mantle, but I mean like an actual combat assassin, where you can disappear in the middle of battle. Practically, it would probably just function like a flash bomb, where the monster just attacks wildly in all directions. But it would add an interesting dynamic to the average hunter. Wow, way to go violently way off topic right out the gate, you freaking moron. The best way I'd describe the dual blades is that they are designed to take one skill your average gamer is good at, that being resource management, and combining it with a skill that most gamers are not good at, that being commitment. We'll start with the resource management bit because it's kind of the most important aspect of the weapon and it's also kind of boring. The resource in question that requires managing is your hunter's stamina, and the biggest factor for your stamina stock market crash would be using the dual blades demon mode, which is something that'll be covered more in depthly later in the commitment portion of this video. Don't at me. Basically, your average hunter is able to run a marathon fresh out their mother's womb, but you activate demon mode and suddenly your hunter gets winded by walking up the stairs. Anybody who's played Monster Hunter for more than 10 minutes will know that running out of stamina is the #1 best way to get an express ticket back to camp. Now, to compensate for this, you might think you'll need to equip yourself with gear that boosts your hunter's stamina recovery, which, don't get me wrong, it is nice, but not the most important skill you should focus on. You want skills that are going to make this little yellow bar deplete as slow as possible. And in my absolutely honest opinion, the best skill you can have for the dual blades is Marathon Runner. Reduces continuous stamina depletion. And do you know what continuously depletes your stamina? Demon mode, which we are still not talking about, but we'll get there, I promise. As well as sprinting. And using the power of my mastery over 3rd grade level mathematics, we can conclude that a 50% reduction is essentially doubling our total stamina pool. Now, by no means is the Marathon Runner skill the only way of enhancing your stamina situation. Wow, that sounds like something you'd hear in a Viagra commercial. There's also eating the appropriate dangos, using skills such as latent power, and items like the dash juice. But all three of these options have very valid arguments against them. For instance, you only get 3 choices for dangos, so prioritizing stamina modifiers doesn't leave many options if you're one for experimentation. But I suppose that doesn't matter if you have the mindset as one of my stream viewers that thinks eating is for the weak. If food is for the weak, well, consider my knees shaking, my arms are heavy, and there's about to be lots of mom spaghetti. And as far as using dash juice, do you really want to develop that kind of dependency? All it takes is 2 or 3 hunts of being on the juice, and then suddenly you're attending DJAA courses every Wednesday night. Come on, my gamers, the best way to not have a dash juice addiction is to just leave that crap in the box. And don't get me started on latent power. Having to wait over 2 minutes on average for your skill to do anything is asking too much no matter how useful the skill may be. It also only lasts for 120 seconds, then it's gone and you're back to waiting in the middle of combat. Whereas Marathon Runner is like any Apple product's microphone. It's just always on in the background and you don't have to think about it. which I know most of you sheeple don't. Like I said, that's just my opinion. Feel free to tell me just how wrong I am down in the comment section, and I can already hear you typing, Sergio. That's why for this video, I made a latent power build just for you. And before you start getting all smug, it's not out of deference, but out of spite. At this point, I'm half expecting a comment like, "You're a cisgender white male, you're not allowed to have an opinion." Alright, raise your hand if you want me to start talking about dealing some damage. The basics of combat. You see this X button right here? You just push that until the hunt is over, and that is all. All these abilities right here, they just make your X button spam a little bit more effective. The demon modes! Yes, I'm finally talking about them, but don't get your hopes up because it's only going to be a single paragraph. The standard demon mode. By holding the weapons backwards for some reason, your hunter becomes the fastest thing on the planet while doing a not so noticeable amount of extra damage. Next up is the feral demon mode. Again, your hunter holds their weapons backwards for some reason, but there is no movement bonus. Instead, you deal an incredibly noticeable amount of extra damage. And for that reason, it is objectively the only mode you should be using because more damage! Also, now you do a little attack when evading, which I suppose is neat. Speaking of evading, while in demon mode, your hunter will do a little hop instead of the traditional roll. It is much faster than rolling, but the distance isn't incredibly long. Is it cool? Yes. Does it drain your stamina like crazy? Also yes. But oh man, you combine this with some of that evade extender and you can just frickin' zoom all over the place. It is great. A funky little dodge is not all you get while in demon mode. You also have the blade dance at your disposal. This move is kind of crazy because there are none like it in the game where a single input can deal this many attacks all at once. As I'm sure you can imagine, it has incredible damage potential but also leaves you incredibly vulnerable. This is the largest factor of that commitment that I mentioned earlier, because once this move starts, there is no stopping it until it is over. At least, no stopping by you. If the monster is so inclined, and while you are exposed, wildly swinging your weapons around, it can just end your entire existence. Generally speaking, this move should be used exclusively when the monster is vulnerable, otherwise you might find yourself back at camp sooner than expected. Comment below if you saw the bear off because I sure freaking didn't. Next, let's discuss the aerial moves, and I am bumping them together because they are essentially the same thing. One of them requires you to stab the monster and then you launch yourself in the air. The other one just requires a wire bug and you launch yourself in the air. And with this one, you can get a little crazy if you got all three of your wire bugs. Once you're up in the air, you can either press the X button to attack the monster and put yourself back on the ground lickety-split, or alternatively, you can press the A button, and if you land it correctly, you will do the most anime nonsense that has ever been seen in the Monster Hunter franchise. Damn, it really seems like every weapon in this game has some kind of crazy aerial move. The insect glaive becomes steadily more and more irrelevant. These next two moves are my personal favorite, and I affectionately refer to them as the spin to win and the poke to win. This move is mostly useful for its maneuverability. Being able to relocate on the fly while also dealing damage is just super useful. Depending on how you use it, it essentially becomes a second dodge that can lead into some surprisingly competitive damage while also not costing any stamina. Next up is the big ol' poke. Your hunter rams a knife into the monster that sticks for about 5 seconds, and while it is in there, any attacks your hunter lands will be mirrored, with a damage reduction of course. But still, extra damage is extra damage. And when the time is finally up, the kunai will explode, dealing bonus damage based on how much your hunter attacked the monster. So all in all, it is an incredible tool that has the potential to create numbers rivaling the greatsword. It is truly ridiculous. Now that I say that out loud, a magical knife that explodes for no reason does sound pretty anime. Maybe that heavenly blade nonsense isn't so bad after all. The dual blades is a weapon that took me out of my comfort zone because there is just no defensive capabilities whatsoever. The hammer had strong enough damage to be able to use hit and run tactics. The light bowgun had the range buffer to keep me safe, and all the other weapons had some form of blocking.
But with the dual blades, you have to be up in that monster's business for as long as possible, otherwise you won't be dealing that much damage. But it felt so good to just zip around the monster while dealing damage the whole time when I finally got a grasp of what I was doing. And while the dual blades' lack of defense may have dissuaded you from using them before, take it from a guy that was in your same shoes. A little get good never hurt anybody.
I would like to sincerely thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider giving the video a like and subscribing if you haven't done so already.
Okay, what did I forget to talk about this time? I know there's something. There always is.
Oh yeah, Archdemon mode. Just do what I do and pretend that it doesn't exist. All it really does is create confusion for new players because they see normal mode, demon mode, and then archdemon mode, and they think it's a linear progression between the three, when in actuality archdemon mode is an in-between for normal and regular demon mode. So it really has no purpose. If you have stamina, just be in demon mode, and if not, back out of combat, let your teammates play with the monster for a few seconds, regain your stamina, turn on demon mode, and then get back in the fight. Don't try to strive for archdemon mode. It really does nothing for you. I shall be doing the bow next because I really want to get this whole stamina managing nonsense out of the way. So until the next video, this is not goodbye for good, just goodbye for now.
I don't use deodorant as a point of pride, and that's also something you can take out of context. I am a true gamer.
Did you hear about the Yu-Gi-Oh brand Earth like deodorant?
No.
It became such a problem with body odor at competitions that they had to come out with official Yu-Gi-Oh deodorant. They're like trying to promote proper hygiene in the community.
That's amazing. Seeing like the signs at conventions and stuff that were like, please wear deodorant.
It was actually it was used as a strategy because you could move up in competition by your opponent just forfeiting the fight or the battle. So if you just smelled so bad they didn't want to be around you, even if you lost the first battle, if they forfeited the second one, you could move on in the competition.
What a terrible way to try to win.
It was a legit strategy.
I'm sorry, but that is just sad.
It's hilarious though, but yeah, it is really sad. You know, back when I was playing Grand Theft Auto, someone actually called me a cisgender conservative, like that's some kind of insult. But still, I had to set them straight. So I told them, I ain't no sissy gender, I'm from Texan. That's a quote, word for word. I said, I am from Texan. Oh, that's the worst part about the internet. No matter how strong your argument is, you got a single typo in there and the whole thing's invalidated.